Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 51. This is Dan, joined by my pal Anthony again, to talk about
Hello.
gaming news and other bullshit going on in our industry that
Of
seems to
course.
be rapidly deteriorating with each passing day. But hey,
Yes.
it's still good to be alive.
Oh, hell yeah. Here with a buddy to talk about the things we like.
Oh, yes. So I think we're gonna do a little bit of a different format today.
hmm
I am gonna tell you what I've been playing this week, and obviously you'll go after me. But before before we talk about, what we've been playing, uh, I am just gonna go ahead and say that I have one major thing to talk about this week,
All right.
about two or three uh, medium-sized stuff, I would say, maybe
hmm
more on the smaller side.
Yeah.
That's pretty much going to be it for me.
hmm
Um, Maybe one or two things that's just like I would consider trivial, but yeah, that's going to be
All
my
right.
content this
Yeah.
week.
I have a few small things myself, but also a light rant after we're done
Okay.
talking about what we're playing. I
Can't
won't.
have an episode without an Anthony rant. That
It's
is
just
fucking, we
listen.
got to make
As,
merch and we got to print something having to do with an Anthony rant on the merch.
Yeah, and we're gonna have in the when we have a merch store, we'll have somewhere in the back. We'll just have a fine leather Ottoman T-shirt
That
for people who
the
have
OG fans,
for
which
like
is
the one guy that's
yeah,
managed to
the
keep
one
track of
dude.
us.
That was like fucking 15 years ago, man. That was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, it's so long. Um, God. Okay. Anyway, so this week, what have I been playing? What has Dan touched upon this week? So I put a bunch more time into Mass Effect 3. Um,
hmm
the game is actually longer than I remember it being. So,
Hmm.
especially like when you go out of your way to do all the little stuff and get as many of the war assets as you possibly can,
Yeah.
uh, definitely like kind of inflates the playtime a little bit. But I will
Absolutely.
say that playing it now on on a fast PC, those load times are basically non-existent, and it's so nice to like because back when Mass Effect 3 came out, it was such a large game
Yeah.
that was Mass Effect 2 and 3 on two discs, or was it just two?
I think they were both on two discs, but
I
the thing
remember,
about
yeah,
three, it might have been one of those situations where it was single player, multiplayer. I honestly can't remember.
yeah. I mean, I have them next to me on disc, but I'm not gonna pluck them off of my shelf just to check. But I'm pretty sure both 2 and 3 were on two discs.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so Mass Effect 3 is a lot longer than I remember it being, especially going out of your way doing everything. I
Yeah.
just got to the point where we're gonna assault the Elusive Man's base, and I don't know
Hmm.
how far after that, like the actual end of the game is. So,
I
but either
think that's like the last major like dungeon, so to speak.
okay, yeah, because I mean I'm like really fighting the Reapers in earnest now, and
hmm
it's not because the first half of the game is like basically just Cerberus.
Yeah.
And then you get into the Reapers, especially when you go to Thessia, with the
hmm
Asari planet, to
Yes.
recover whatever to recover the artifact.
hmm
Like yeah, that's when the Reaper fights really start to settle in. Um, but yeah, so I fucking love Mass Effect, man. Just all of it. It's all so good. And playing through it again is just like I described it a couple weeks ago. It's just like a warm hug every time I log into
Yeah.
that game. It's so good.
Yeah.
Uh, so Mass Effect 3 is a big one for me this week. So that's and after that, as you know, I'm gonna transition to Andromeda.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just trying to get through Mass Effect 3 so I can get to Andromeda, but also take my time with it. It's been like
hmm
a month at this point and I haven't beaten it
Yeah.
yet.
I think you'll have a pretty good easy time getting through Andromeda just because whereas with the trilogy you've been savoring it, you've been
Yeah.
making sure you're doing all the different things. Andromeda, the one upside of Andromeda being its standalone package is that you don't need to worry about baggage or potential repercussions in the future. You could just play it and do what you want in it. There's no ticking clock. There's no trilogy wide things you need to worry about. You know.
Yeah. So Mass Effect 3, I haven't been playing Darktide as much.
Mm,
The finals I kind of dip into for like maybe an hour or so whenever I'm gaming.
mm-hmm.
But I kind of I still really enjoy it, but I've kind of beaten it to a pulp at this point. Um, so I don't know. I'm kind of like torn on that because the game is still a ton of fun to play, but
Yeah.
when you're playing by yourself and it's like the same rotation of maps with the same game mode, because I really only like to play Power Shift, but like
Hmm.
when I'm just playing solo. Um, if like me, you, and Joe were to play, because I've seen him playing it a little bit on Steam,
Hmm.
uh, we would probably jump into Quick Cache, which is like a much more competitive game mode that you actually
Mm.
have to communicate with your team, and it's like a different
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
I've kind of beaten the finals to a pulp a little bit. I haven't been playing it as much, but I have been playing a lot more of Space Marine 2, which it, I mean, it kind of takes me into my small story a little bit, but I'll just get that out of the way, and then you can talk about what you've been playing.
Yeah.
So I'm playing a lot of Space Marine 2 because Update 7 is set to release on April 15th, which is only 2 days from the time of this recording. And
Mm.
they're adding a new PvP map, a new PvE map, a new weapon, and a bunch of lore accurate Warhammer 40K cosmetics, which is always
Ah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But along with the update, they're also doing like a huge balance pass to all the classes and weapons, and
Mm.
they're making things a lot more flexible and more powerful for like the feel of the player. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Like
Yeah.
everything is supposed
Yeah.
to feel better.
I think we touched on this a little while ago, where it's basically the kind of balance we're going to be seeing from this is that they're essentially opening things up so that the player can do more,
Yes.
and what they do is more effective. So it's less about fine tuning or balancing and more about player control and power. That's what you've led me to believe, anyway.
Yeah. No, that's right. Um, so I just before we started recording, I was actually playing a little bit of the multiplayer, the PvP, Eternal War, and I main the heavy class, right? And he's got his heavy bolter, and his ability is this Iron Halo shield that blocks all incoming range damage. And for the longest time, I had my ultimate ability bound to my F key. Now, something with this class in particular, with this ability in particular, it doesn't tell you, but it doesn't like even though you have the key binding set to whatever you set it as in the settings,
Hmm.
the ultimate ability binding is set to Q. And I
Uh,
can't, it doesn't change. Like I've changed it in the settings and it says even on the HUD it says that it's the F key. But nope, it's the Q key and it took me fucking forever to figure that out. And I don't know why. Um, so like I would jump into a PvP game of Space Marine 2 and I would just get shit on because I couldn't activate my super ability and I couldn't fucking figure it out. So I finally figured it out and things have gotten much better. So
mm,
thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
of course.
So yeah, that was like one out of my two smaller things that I wanted to talk about.
All right.
So I'm gonna turn it over to you for
Sure.
what you've been playing this week. So
Yes.
I just would like to say that for my big main thing that I want to talk about,
Uh,
I want to go at the very end. So
okay.
we can
That
always
works.
bookmark it with a rant if you want,
No,
or
no,
bookend it rather.
don't worry. Like I said, I'm gonna, what I have this big thing that's brewing that I'm going to talk about next week,
Okay.
for now, as far as what I've been playing, right? I'm pretty much in the same place that I was last week. I mentioned that I've been playing some of the Kingdom Hearts sequels, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And I ended up going really, really hard with those. I've almost completed another 100% run with Kingdom Hearts 2. I just need to beat two more super bosses and collect a few more chests, and I'm all done there. All I have to say is really one of the best action RPGs I've ever played. I mean, I knew that already, but it bears repeating now that I'm at the very end of it again. I kind of want to go and play Kingdom Hearts 3 after this, but I don't know where my copy is. I'll get to it eventually. Other than that, oddly enough, I went back and I played a DS game
A
called
DS game? You still own a
yeah.
Nintendo DS?
I do, and also you obviously have the stuff you can do on the computer. You can emulate the DS
Oh
relatively
yeah.
easy. It's a little wonky because of the fact that part of it was a touchscreen, right? But I played a little bit of Mario Hoops 3-on-3. Ever hear that? One of the Mario sports
Mario
games.
Hoops. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's old.
yeah. Yeah, it was always a fun little game. It was a fun game by Square Enix with the Nintendo properties, and I brought it up because I saw on Twitter people, every now and again people do like just engagement bait, and they're just like, oh, check out this old game and the great music it had. So I'm just like, well, yeah, it has great music, but if they could never make another one of these games. I started arguing with people about that, but I played a little bit of it, and it's a quality DS game. There's really no way to put it. It's a game from a different time for both Nintendo, where they were willing to let people take different directions with their properties, and Square Enix, where they still had a lot of creative talent. Because, like I said, the way the game looks, the way the game plays, and the way the game sounds is all very, very good. It's a quality game for the platform, and some of the best designs for some of the Square Enix characters and the SquareSoft classic characters. But didn't play too much of it, but I did try a little bit of it. Other than that, I did end up trying South of Midnight. And,
Okay, how was that?
Uh,
Oh boy,
I
just your
I had
exasperated
I
sigh.
had like the opposite feeling I did when I tried Avowed, where it's like, oh, the gameplay surprised me. This feels better than I expected. I'm actually disappointed in how South of Midnight feels. Like, I was expecting like a unique little action RPG, but it's just got the same cooldown shit as everything else that needs to have. It's just anti-fun in a lot of ways. Like, it's not terrible.
Anti-fun.
It's not overly balanced, but it's just like people need to stop putting like RPG cooldowns on every skill in every game. That just doesn't make sense to me. So it's basically, I haven't gotten that far in it. I doubt I will get that far in it, but what I have so far is just like they keep introducing new skills to me that I can do with the chicks. Like, she has like these two hooks. She does these things called weaves, where like she pushes, she pulls, she creates things out of the ether. And like each one has like a 5 to 10 second cooldown. I don't know if that changes or as you play differently, maybe the cooldown's a little bit more lenient, but that put me off immediately. I was just like, I'm not having this. I played about, I want to say overall like an hour and a half of it, right? And in that hour of a half, I had that gameplay experience. The traversal, like just moving around the world and climbing on shit, was awkward because, like, I'll give them credit for not railroading you with yellow paint and shit like that, right? But it's like it's almost like they decided like, oh, people are sick and tired of the yellow paint and like the very obvious paths. But instead of making traversal a little bit more natural for you to move around and shit, they just have like these moments where it's like, oh, my character can jump and I'm climbing up a wall. I should be able to jump to the top of the wall and just be there. But no, they want me to climb up a certain way, even though my skill set clearly says I should be able to get up there. So it's like really, it's awkward because it's like I'm playing with the bumpers up, but I can't see the bumpers, if that makes sense. And I was like, okay, that's off-putting. The one little thing I'll give it credit for is that so far there's been a handful of music tracks where it's just like, I don't love them, but it's just like AAA games don't try with music, and this one is definitely trying with the music. Like, yeah, it's not generic or anything like that. There are some tracks like that. I'm not saying it's a 10 out of 10 soundtrack, but it's just like for the set pieces and the scenes, like it has music that you don't hear that often because this setting isn't often tried, like Deep South kind of stuff with like the big jazzy tracks and the horns and like something like you'd hear in like a show or a film from that area, right? And the only other thing I'll really say, and this is probably what's going to end up killing it for me, like I can deal with bad gameplay, I can give it a shot for a while longer. Daniel, they don't know what they want to do with the fucking frame rate of this game, right?
Isn't like some of it rendered in 30 and some of it isn't rendered in 60?
It's like lower than 30. It's so bizarre. Like, I saw this coming up and I'm just like, okay, I'll just have to adapt to the crap factor. Like, there's a lot of animated films out there that like to play around with the frame rate, right? Like, I'm sure you've seen more than a few out there where there's films that want to try this for like stylistic purposes. And you know me, I've been complaining about them nonstop because I just think it looks like shit. This, though, has a unique problem where like the frame rate just jumps all over the place. Like, I'll be moving and like the character is moving at like 60 frames per second, but when she talks, her mouth is at like the stylistic 15 frames per second. And if I walk a little bit slower, her arms and legs and like her clothes that are hanging off her, like the cloth, when it flows, it's at the 15 frames, but her limbs are still moving at 60, and it's just this hodgepodge mess. Like, it's actively giving me a headache. I don't say that often. Like, I can play games at lower frame rates. Like, like we've had this bizarre argument. I'm like, oh, I can play the Nintendo 64 games at 24 frames. It doesn't bother me. I can play at the 60. It doesn't bother me. 30 doesn't bother me. But this arbitrary like kneecapping of the frame rate for stylistic purposes, it's inconsistent, and it's been driving me fucking nuts. Like, it's distracting. It's distracting at best and headache inducing at worst. I can't. It's so bizarre to me. It's like they wanted to fully commit almost, because I remember seeing cutscenes and gameplay that moved at this, but now it's like, in the world, I'm moving at 60. Certain elements are moving at like that lower. It's not 30. It's like lower. It's like jittery, like the intentional jittery shit, right? And it's just like each element in the from the environments to the characters to the details on the characters, everything just selectively changes from this stylized to the silky smooth 60. And I'm just like, I can't. That's gonna be the breaking point for me. Is just having to look at that just one too many times. So I'm sure it's going to be like, it's going to be one of those games that gets propped up because, once again, you know, certain elements in the game and certain people that worked on the game just check all the right boxes. So I'm sure it'll be an industry darling this year. It'll probably get at least one mention at the Game Awards, I'd imagine, unless people just hate Xbox for some reason. But it's just it misses the mark for me. There's nothing really special about it outside of some of the unique settings that it chooses, and I think over time we might talk about it at a later point if more information on the development comes out, because I'm pretty sure it's one of those developments that have been railroaded by consultation companies. We've talked about that before, and I think there's more to say about it, but I didn't pay for it, so no skin off my bones, you know. But I don't think I'll be finishing this one, no.
Yeah, all right, that's fair.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, you tried.
Yeah, but that's what I had been playing. It was a kind of a slow week for me. It's just a lot of work, a lot of editing, so I didn't have time to try anything outside of what I've been playing. Hopefully, going to be getting back into fighting games soon, because Harrison's hand is feeling better, so we'll see what happens next week. But last week, right, I had mentioned to you that I did a bit of watching.
Right.
This week I did a bit more, and I promise this is probably going to be the last week I have something that I've watched, right?
Okay.
I rewatched the Devil May Cry anime from way back when. Like, not the new Netflix shit, but like the older one that I mentioned before, as a kind of palate cleanser to the Netflix show. Still very much enjoyed it. To summarize what I said before, just a nice looking, fun anthology series that explores its own thing in the universe, with care enough from the people involved and guidance from the writers at Capcom to make something that fits cleanly into the canon. Just a nice little show. Compared to the Netflix show, which is just a vessel for someone's 2000s nostalgia trip, war on terror allegory, awkwardly jammed in as a non-canon prequel adaptation mix.
Right.
Then, when I was done with Devil May Cry altogether, I watched the second episode of the Guilty Gear 3D show Dual Rulers, which I mentioned last week. I didn't want to bore you with all the details, but this is probably the last one I'm going to be watching for a while, because one of my favorite characters was showing up, so I felt obligated to watch it. I wanted to see how he'd be handled, because he has no mainline story presence, like, whatsoever. He's like the most non-essential side character, and he's kind of getting jammed into the forefront. He's one of those androgynous characters I mentioned at some point that had been retconned for modern crap, so it's like, okay, what are they doing with him? Where does he fit into this whole thing? And my other slightly more important story-wise character showed up, so that was neat, I guess. And again, I'm not going to bore you with the massive setup and specifics, because that's a lot of ground and a lot of baggage, but my takeaway from the second episode, I think it's a very bold choice to have filler take up most of your second episode. Right after your first episode is more or less just a rehash of 20-year-old stories no one aside from me and like 10 other people read. Especially when you only have 8 25-minute long episodes to play around with, and when you're already struggling with pacing. For the show overall, I guess it's not as outrageous as some of the shit DMC did on Netflix, because that's some other guys getting their grubby hands on it and making a mess. But this show, and the game that came before it, has been such a profound and compounding disappointment for the last 5-ish years. Maybe like 4 years this summer. It's one of the lockdown games. I just can't place when, and it's like when a series takes a turn or gets a bad entry, you kind of just reflect and go, man, that sucks. Can they turn it around at any point? And you just kind of hope for the best, or you realize that the team that made what you loved is gone, right? I have never had a company just drain me completely dry of my enthusiasm, goodwill, and confidence for where the series is and where it goes from here. And that's from a team that, while it has changed significantly over the last 20 years, has a few key personnel. It was always a rather small team. Like, the changes they would need to make at a fundamental level for gameplay, lore, designs, they would basically need to pretend this game, the show, and its supplementary materials never happened. And it's that bad and misaligned with the history of offerings that the series had. But I had a whole separate point. Where was I going? I was going somewhere completely different with this. Oh. So you heard my reactions to these things, right? Both shows. I judge them both as a fan of these series and as someone who can just, watch and play things, fan or not. And while there will be a bit of bias, that bias is one in favor of things that are good and healthy for the series, right? Both of these shows are pretty good examples of people being attached or attracted to franchises for all the wrong reasons, or pretending to like things for the wrong reason, or having biases that are more about personal grievances and politics and culture, not the series itself. Recently, there has been a change in how people are talking about the Devil May Cry Netflix show. Because the guy that did the series that's been ruining all these different game adaptations, Adi Shankar, had a kind of schizo moment on Twitter where he was posting pictures of a reaction YouTuber that's been getting into cultural and political commentary that's counter to all the bullshit ruining everything. And Adi basically confirmed he had used this guy as like a reference for the show for a character that is meant to be played as like a right-wing conspiracy theorist, but is also completely right in the context of the show, right? Initially, everybody thought this was a dig at the guy, but it turns out it might be in reference because he's tweeting at him about how he's right about everything and how he's being coy about whether it's in-show stuff or real-life political commentary stuff, right? So what I'm getting at is what has happened with the Devil May Cry Netflix show is people started digging into his history, found out he was at Trump's inauguration, finds all this political stuff, maybe he leans a certain way politically, and the result is that regardless of what's true or not, all the people that were cheering on the show because it made people like me upset about how it adapts the property, or because they were for the show's statements on America or general politics, are now completely silent or flat out turning on the guy as they figure out what the right opinion is, right? Meanwhile, the Guilty Gear show, Dual Rulers, episode 2, despite being a nothing episode, like it's just filler and bad pacing and just nothing happens in it, like, something that might be a show-wide issue based on these first 2 episodes, it got attention that is probably as loud as it's going to get for short of an amazing finale. And it's solely because the character I mentioned that I like. Because, like I mentioned, they changed him for very loud and annoying people ruining everything that represent modern trends and ideologies that are extremely easy to pander to. And people are only talking about him in maybe the 3 minutes he had this episode, and what is probably the entire show. They're not talking about the story or the lore implications, the shifting quality, the awkward pacing, or the fact that after 25 years of teasing the possibility of this anime fighting game finally getting an actual anime, all we got is this janky 3D animation using in-game assets with visible clipping and awkward shots and cuts to hide drawbacks. Nobody's talking about anything but this one character. Just the one character, because he's a stolen quantity that checks all the right boxes and will likely remain that way unless he shows up again or something unprecedented happens in the next 6 episodes, which I won't be watching week by week anymore. Basically, why I mentioned all of this is it's just to show 2 of many examples of people latching onto things for all the wrong reasons and just making things worse for everybody. It's the same BS fandom culture I've talked about before, that people don't like things for what they are. They feel the need to, look for something that they could take from someone else, or they look for people like you or me who are just normal guys enjoying something and they want to, just walk in and shit all over the place. And it was frustrating for me to not only watch these two shows and have them just be a complete mess, one of them directly shitting on a series that I like, and just having these people have like this fucking pendulum moment of running back and forth between, is it good, is it bad, is the thing that makes other people mad in the show, running back and forth in a confusing mess. And it was just a prime example of like just what's wrong with people enjoying shit. They call it the fandom culture or whatever, and it's everywhere. And that was my experience with what I watched this week. It's just that fucking nonsense.
God damn.
Yeah.
Fucking rant. Jesus.
Yeah, I listen. It's like, it's one thing for me to sit here and watch something that's just like, man, the series, one of them is like literally just shitting on what I like, and the other one is just a series I really liked for a long time, just going in a completely wrong direction for the wrong reasons. And at the same time, the people that it was in service for both reasons are just not happy because they weren't in it for something that they wanted. They just were in it for something that other people didn't want to happen. And it's frustrating because these people still get pandered to. So
I mean, the story is the same across pretty much everything. Like, we had the same conversation when just before Space Marine 2 was launching, and
Oh, yeah.
we were like we were unsure what the final product was going to be because of the drama that was going on with
Yeah.
Games Workshop with having female Adeptus Custodes.
Yeah, and how
Like,
that
it's the
and,
same thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's always like something gets pushed, whether it's for modern audiences and sensibilities or just growing an audience and making things as generic as possible. And you'll have people latch on for those reasons, not because they're good reasons for the existing properties, but because not even for like it's going beyond, like I said, ticking the right boxes, but also just pissing people off, right? So it's just nightmarish. And these are, you brought up 40K. I was talking about these two things. It's just drops in the bucket. There's so much of that. And I think we're getting away from that. But in the meantime, it's just like, it's getting louder
people
because
are actively rejecting it.
Exactly. That's why I think I was like, I'm noticing this more than I did before. Like, I always had an ear to the ground for this stuff, but like, I think I said like during our end of the year show or some point in the last 10 episodes, I said something like, as this goes away, the people that are for this are going to get loud and they are going to get violent, whether it's spurging out online or actual violence, we'll actually see. But that's just, I guess, my little temperature check alongside what I was watching,
Yeah. It's like when an animal is backed into a corner.
Exactly.
All right. Well, was that the rant that you had? Was that it?
That's all. That's my opening statement.
Okay. All right. So touching upon a small thing that I got in the Call of Duty arena, did you hear about Modern Warfare 2 and 3 getting possible re-releases?
I did, actually.
Coming up. Yeah, I don't know, like, what is up with that? Like, so the reason that, like, we know of the leak is because there the Australian classifications board is basically like the Australian counterpart to the ESRB here in the States. They rated Modern Warfare 2 and 3. They rated those titles. Now it's the Modern Warfare with like the number 2 and the number 3 instead of the Roman numerals that we got a couple years ago with Modern Warfare 2 and 3, like the remakes. And it's weird to me because one, we got the remaster of the Modern Warfare 2 campaign when God, wasn't it when Modern Warfare 2019 released? It was like a pack that was sold and you could buy.
Yeah, near the end of Modern Warfare 2019's life is when the 2 campaign remastered came out. We knew this because there was bundles for like a new character and for soap
Like
that were supposed to coincide. Yes. Yeah, and then
it was the Ghost. It was Wetwork Ghost.
Yes, it was Wetwork Ghost is what you got for buying it, but there was also like a soap pack that was supposed to launch alongside it. But like the Ghost one was the tie-in bundle.
This perplexes me because one, we are hot off the heels of Modern Warfare of the new Modern Warfare trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we also got remasters of Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. The only one that we haven't gotten is Modern Warfare 3, but it's just like, why do this now? I don't understand what they're going for here, because they can't possibly be remastering the multiplayer. They
Yeah.
would never do that because of that's like, they have multiplayer for the current CODs every year now. And
Yeah.
if they ever remastered the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer and actually brought it back, nobody would be playing any of the new CODs. Like everyone would
Yeah.
move to
It
Modern
would
Warfare
eclipse
2.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
don't know. This just struck me as weird because I think that there is some legitimacy to the leak
Mm.
just because of the fact that I mean, yeah, like the whole style of numbers, that's whatever. But we got Modern Warfare 1 and 2 remastered, at least
Hmm.
the campaigns. But we never got Modern Warfare 3, and it
Yeah.
would stand to reason that they would do that just to, one, as a cash grab, two, as nostalgia bait for
Hmm.
whatever the current COD game is, and three, just to round out the fact that they re-released the all the campaigns at this point for the Modern Warfare franchise. So I'm just bringing it up because it's something that came across my news feed that I
Hmm.
was kind of raised an eyebrow, but you are
Yeah.
just as big a fan of the OG CODs as I
Yeah.
am. So I just wanted to bounce that off you because like I don't understand why they're doing this now. It doesn't make any sense.
I think Call of Duty as a whole is kind of in an interesting spot right now, because despite their best efforts and like kind of like pulling all the cards they have for modern Call of Duty,
Mm.
they're kind of struggling with reputation. It's just it's the nature of the beast that they've created in the modern Call of Duty audience, where like they're very hyper aggressive, they're very spun out, they constantly new content, and if there's any flaws with it, they tend to just tear it apart. And Call of Duty is one of those series that, because of the pace that it set itself at, tends to have a lot of those flaws. Right? They're the word.
Mm.
Everything's at a breakneck pace, and I think Activision and Microsoft are they're not looking for off ramps, so to speak, but they're trying to like bolster their the IP. And I think they're just looking for options to kind of build support and goodwill, and the classic Modern Warfare games would be one way to do that. It's also
Right.
worth noting, I don't know if you had mentioned this, I know I saw it separately, I don't know if I posted it, you might have heard it, is that Infinite Warfare and World at War apparently have shown up on the Xbox store with included with Game Pass on it.
Yes, I
So
did see that.
it looks like they're trying to make a move there, which I think I said a while ago, like right before Black Ops 6 got announced, it's like Call of Duty on Game Pass is an ace in the hole for both companies as far as like kind of putting a little extra fuel in the fire.
Yeah, well, when
Um,
they announced that they bought Activision, like we both you and I were convinced that like they're gonna put every COD on Game Pass. Like
yeah,
it,
it's just a matter of when
it's a
and then
slam
what and
dunk.
how. Yeah. So as far as what I think about all this, just all this stuff going on with Call of Duty, both the reception to modern, the possibility of these remasters being re-rated because they're already backwards compatible. It could be that they're looking to do like a re-release for modern platforms for both the latest PlayStation and the latest Xbox as like a physical deal. It's possible,
Mhm.
and at the same, it could coincide with the games on Xbox. I think that they are no longer capable, or at the very least, they're willing to pull out of all all their chips on Warzone, so to speak. I've heard rumors that if like Verdansk doesn't turn things around for Warzone, they're willing to pull out of Warzone, or like at least as it's being supported right now with integration and things like that.
So
And
it's
I
funny that you actually mentioned Verdansk because
yeah
that was something else that I was gonna bring up.
yeah
Apparently the remake or remaster, but whatever the fuck you want to call it,
hmm
release of Verdansk was actually received very well.
yeah. I mean
And
it is like, oh, that going back to Verdansk, aside from Rebirth Island, is like the only like roots of Warzone when everybody was just kind of on board with it. So I mean,
yeah,
it stands to reason that the bar was set pretty low there. I've heard some complaints about the lighting, and I think that's just them playing it safe. They don't want to hear complaints about, oh, characters hiding in the shadows and you can't see them. So
yeah.
it's just the thing. It is like that just has to do with the way that the things are balanced. You had people complain for 4 years you can't have it all, but Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've heard people like that. So maybe it's possible that they'll stick with it. I do think there's a lot more to say about the evolution of Warzone and the Call of Duty formula ever since Warzone launched, but I think it's up in the air right now. I think they're prepping things to build goodwill and like some kind of brand rebound after like years of just being dragged for both
I
rightfully and
think
wrongly.
right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've been saying this for years, but it's never gonna happen. But I could wish, or I could hope. I think that they just need to like stop releasing CODs every year. Like, please. I would
Yeah.
be so much more interested
Yeah.
in each Call of Duty entry if I didn't have to worry about just basically starting over from scratch
Yeah.
every year. And like I enjoy chasing doing the camo grinds. I really do like it.
Oh.
But like I'm not gonna fucking put myself through that if
Yeah.
in 12 months time it just doesn't matter anymore.
It
Like
should it
I
should
just
it should really they really should have, and this is something they should have done with Modern Warfare 2, the latest Modern Warfare 2, is Modern Warfare 3 should have just been like an expansion, you know?
Mhm.
It really didn't need, like, don't get me wrong,
Well, that's what it was supposed to be according to all the
yeah,
leaks and everything.
yeah, like, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of improvements in Modern Warfare 3 to the overall gameplay structure that Modern Warfare 2 set up. And like that's like an awkward example to use because of those improvements, but they really should be focusing on one game, a year later, one premium expansion, and then the next game and a premium expansion after that. Like
I would
if you
be way more okay with that than what
yeah,
the current setup is now.
I don't think that was like
It's
the
not gonna
one time
happen.
to do it. Like
Yeah,
I
it's not
just
gonna
don't
happen.
yeah. Apparently the next Call of Duty is going to be another Black Ops game.
Which like stop.
Yeah,
Enough.
it's gonna be a direct sequel to 2, futuristic setting.
I
I
just
just
like so based off of that, I am actually interested because I really enjoyed Black Ops 2,
mm,
but like we're going on what? The seventh Black Ops game? Like fucking enough.
I
Just
see. I don't.
move
Uh,
on.
it's so weird. It's so weird to have this conversation. You know, to have me be the one like going to bat for these things. But it's like I don't think there's an inherent problem with doing these different sub-series and giving them their own lengthy history. It's just the pace they're at. All of this would be so much like this would be Call of Duty would be so much more palatable to literally everyone if you just gave yourself some breathing room and slowed down the
Yeah.
pace a little. You'd still be raking
Yeah.
in tons of money on the cash app because you're selling bundles up to $40 bundles. You're doing 2 separate battle passes. You know, you have the one battle pass and then sometimes you have the little event battle pass that with the crossover characters. You can still get your fill and also have everybody be happy if you just give everybody some fucking breathing room. The pacing is just not tenable. I already tell you,
Yeah.
it's like it's turning your players into like literal animals, but it's like it's better for like there's no downsides to it outside of losing like that $60 install, which you could just
Yeah.
like survive with a $30 install every other year. Like, come on.
It's too much. It's too
Yeah,
much, but it's
way
never
too
going to
much.
stop because they got a taste of that cash,
Yeah.
and it just that's it. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know the new age Modern Warfare trilogy, breathed such life into the franchise
Yeah.
that it's sorely needed. That like,
Yep.
you know, COD is going to have to crash and burn for like 2 or 3 years in a row before they change anything.
It needs to be in the exact same place it was before Modern Warfare 2019 for them to even potentially make a change of that magnitude.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on from there, I got one more small thing to talk about, and then I'm ready to talk about my big story for the week. I know you know what it is already, now that we talked about it
Yes.
before, but
Yes.
you know me well enough to know what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Okay, so Deep Rock Galactic, they have a spin-off game called Rogue Core. I don't know if I've
Hmm.
ever talked about this before,
I think we
but
talked about it
they
once.
they came out with a new trailer, just showing off like gameplay and whatnot. It's very similar to Deep Rock Galactic, but it's a roguelite spin-off instead of like persistent progression for your character.
Mhm.
And the big takeaway here is if you enjoy Deep Rock Galactic, you're going to enjoy Deep Rock Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core. Like
Okay.
it's just a different flavor of the formula, which is fine because Galactic has been out for, or DRG has been out for so long
Yeah.
that it's kind of about time they did something else with the IP.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it looks like a fun time. It's gonna be better with friends, obviously, but
Yeah.
the
Of course.
trailer looked cool, and it just Ghost Ship Gaming, who are the developers behind Deep Rock.
Uh,
I think they have their priorities straight when it comes to game design.
yeah.
So I
It,
have my complete faith is behind them. I think I wish them all the best, and I
mhm.
think that Rogue Core is going to be a good time, even for a handful of hours, as opposed to the hundreds that I've already sunk into Deep Rock Galactic. So I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely overall the brand. It's definitely a so far so good kind of thing. I do kind of
Yeah,
hope that, like, listen, there's nothing wrong with continuing to support and roll out spin-offs and continue support. I do hope all of this, like, kind of not meandering, so to speak, but like this kind of comfortable slower pace in spin-offs and updates to the original Deep Rock Galactic does eventually lead to a very strong Deep Rock Galactic 2 some point in the future. That
yeah,
would be a very nice
that would
touch
be neat.
because, like, don't get me wrong, like, there's still a lot of stuff we haven't done in Deep Rock Galactic 1, but I feel like at this time where you're just collecting money on the spin-offs and you're kind of like not slowing down, but like your pacing of content updates for Deep Rock Galactic 1 is so well spaced, you should be using all this time to develop a killer sequel. And I think
Yeah,
we could have one on our hands, hopefully, if they ever do that. I don't know what
I mean, I
if
think
they've
it'll happen
mentioned plans.
eventually.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like you never know. Some of these companies, especially the smaller ones, tend to be more comfortable. It's almost like what
Mhm.
you mentioned once with Helldivers 2, how they just want
Helldivers,
to
I knew you were gonna say it.
how
Yeah.
they just want to update until they eventually reach the threshold of Helldivers 3, and we had a whole conversation about that. But
Yeah.
I do think Deep Rock Galactic is one of those where I think they should do just a straight up sequel before they consider resting in that
Yeah.
particular
Well,
type of
that
game.
actually reminds me, the you know how I really enjoy playing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's in early
Yes.
access and all that good stuff. Well,
Yes.
the 1.0 release is gonna be on September 17th. So
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to just throw that out there. I just
May as
remembered since
well.
we were talking about Deep Rock.
Yeah.
Um, it like for an early access game, it is so well put together that
Mhm.
I have not noticed any bugs or glitches. I have not had a crash, maybe one or two,
Okay.
but that like you could chalk that up to like my computer. It's not like it's a regular thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's in such a good state for an early access title, and it has been since the beginning, that I don't think they've been. Survivor might have been out maybe a year, if that. It's not been much longer than that,
Mhm.
if it even is a year. But yeah, so Deep Rock Galactic Survivor 1.0 is hitting on September 17th, and I am I mean I'm excited to see what they bring to the game and everything. Every update that they've put out has been better than the last, and they've just been adding more content, and the changes are changes that work.
Mhm.
So keep up the good work, and
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what new stuff they add on the 17th of September.
Mhm.
So yeah, uh,
Good.
well, that was the last thing that I really wanted to talk about as far as the small stuff goes.
Uh,
So did you hit your big thing yet, or was that
well,
the rant?
like I said, I mean the big thing I'm gonna save until next week, just
Right.
so that because it's a bigger thing.
Okay.
But as a smaller thing, just like as a little touch base kind of thing, have you heard the recent Sony updates?
Um, Maybe. Enlighten me.
Well, typically, as we move along console cycles and console generations, prices are supposed to go, down on hardware, right? Uh,
Yeah.
uh, PlayStation 5s will be going up in price in select regions. And, like, normally it's just like, oh, if it's like a third world area, you kind of just roll your eyes. And it's like, okay, they're trying to squeeze more money out of those. They're raising the prices in New
Isn't it like
Zealand,
Japan or something?
Japan, New Zealand, or Australia. I get the two mixed up because I'm an ignorant first worlder, and Europe. All of Europe, it will be going up in price. So it's like I I mean, I know things in the world as far as, technology and stuff like that is leading to that, but it's so crazy to me that we're at the point where it's just like we're halfway through the console cycle, the prices have not budged, and instead they're going up in some
Yeah.
locations. Yeah.
Another reason why like I'm so happy that I pretty much completely switched to PC.
And then the other thing is that Sean Layden, one of our favorite personalities, decided to pop up and say that like every console generation game should go up $5. I'm just like, shut up, Sean. Just stop talking. Just go settle back into retirement or whatever the hell you're in, because like games are already too expensive as it is, and most of them are filled with like battle passes and microtransactions and all that. And I know everybody wants the games to be $100. I get it. You're trying to push us to that point, and then I'm pretty sure we're going to reach a breaking point, because no matter how many freaking diehard console fans you have out there saying like, oh, they should be more money, I'll definitely pay 100, it's not enough to break even with what you want. It's definitely, if they eventually do raise those prices, even just incrementally, they're I think at most they'll break even, whether it's Sony or Nintendo, just because like so many people will start dropping out or pirating or full-on theft. I'll be honest, it's like I would never, but like I just remember seeing like $80 for like some of the Switch games, specifically Mario Kart World. I'm just like, yeah, I could just steal fucking listen, as someone who loves this medium, you will never catch me dead buying multiple games or even one game for like that much money. It's just not attainable. Yeah, like I would need to be making the money back on that some way. Like, it's just like, oh, I play it and I upload a video about it and that video makes $80. Maybe you'd get me to buy that, but like I just couldn't. So I just thought I'd mention, as much as Nintendo is in the spotlight of like pricing and all that stuff, Sony for some reason not even doing new hardware, but they're deciding to jump in with their dumbest takes possible.
Yeah, man. The whole thing is just ass backwards. I'm actually curious to see how like the industry overall reacts when these games start dropping for these increased prices.
Yeah,
so
I think
we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I have a feeling it'll start kind of like a Call of Duty situation where like those bundles got really expensive. Remember how I mentioned it's just like you will get some people that buy this, but you're going to lose total customers on like everything, but you'll break even because you'll have like the few people who like see it as like a premium worth paying. And I don't know at how long that kind of position is tenable, where like you have less people participating in the industry from the get-go. Like obviously, there will be people buying PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's up until like the next generation and even beyond, right? People will still be picking up consoles. That's just how it is, even in small amounts. But like that early install base is just so important for like a healthy industry on the consumer side. Like you can't start fucking with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna roll into the big thing that I wanted to talk about this week.
Go for it, man.
So, Marathon was what?
I have one thing to say about Marathon before you start talking about Marathon. It was unprovoked. I had nothing to do with this, but I just offhand I watched two people I know talk about Marathon. And the one thing that was brought up, I swear to God I had nothing to do with this, was somebody saying, I don't like the fact that they're using the Marathon name for a game that's clearly Marathon. I just wanted to point that out because last week we had a conversation about that. And you said
doesn't like the fact they're using the Marathon name for a game that clearly is Marathon or is not Marathon.
That clearly isn't Marathon.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's one of the things that I was going to get to actually.
Yes. Go. Okay, I just wanted to get that. Don't mind me. I just wanted to get that my snide comment out before you started.
Okay, I definitely have thoughts on this because as you know, I'm a big Bungie fan. I have like basically I think it's up to like 2,000 plus hours in Destiny 2. Mm-hmm. I'm big into that whole region of gaming. Now, they had Bungie had their gameplay reveal yesterday on April 12th, and they showed a gameplay trailer which like didn't really show that much. It's really like what you had to watch the streamers for.
Yes.
The only word I can use to describe the reception to this reveal is divisive, or maybe
Yes.
polarizing, but divisive probably
Either
fits too.
or. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Marathon is an extraction shooter. Um, it's a far cry from what Destiny is. It's a far cry from what Halo was. They have not been bashful about showing in the trailers everywhere and all the marketing material. Oh, from the people who brought you Halo and Destiny. Motherfucker, the people who made Halo are not at Bungie anymore. Like, I
I
can't stand that they do this.
yes, I crunched the
What?
numbers. I would estimate like at most it's like 10%, but
Yeah, if
like
that.
more likely is like 5.
Yeah. So these are not the same people who made Halo. They made Destiny, like the end. Um, so I can't stand that they do that. Now, how much of the reveal did you watch? I know you were posting some stuff about it.
So I saw the gameplay trailer, like that
Okay, so
initial
you know
gameplay
what it
trailer they
looks
put
like.
out. Yes, I know what it looks like. I
Okay,
also skimmed some streamer footage and I saw bits and pieces of the cinematic they put out.
okay. So I think that Bungie is dumping way too much money into its marketing material for this game.
Kind
Um,
of have to.
way, well, okay. So let me like
Yeah,
get
do
to
your
where
thing.
I'm going with
Do
this.
your thing.
So I think they're dumping way too much money into the marketing material of this game. When I saw like the actual live gameplay, not the trailer, when I saw the live gameplay from streams and content creators and streamers and etc., people that got alpha access to this game, I don't think that this game looks visually striking whatsoever. Not in the same way
Okay.
that Destiny looks visually striking. Say what you will about Destiny, like I don't think you can deny that it's a beautiful game. Um,
I think one is a better looker, but two obviously is downstream from one.
right.
So I like there's an art style there that stems from a time where the company was in a better position. So I get what
So
you're saying.
I, from a purely a graphical standpoint, because I'm gonna try to break this down into categories. From a graphical standpoint, it looks like the the team at Bungie made the marathon world and put little to no effort into the environment. It
Okay.
looks so minimalistic and there's no textures anywhere. There's very little detail. It's like the only way I could put it is minimalistic. Um, I I don't I don't know how I feel about the art direction in general, but like upon first glance, I got hit with a very meh feeling, like gut reaction when I saw the live gameplay. And that's not a good sign, just full stop.
Yeah.
Now, you can say all you want about the graphics, but how does the game play? According to the different videos and people that I've seen play the game, the gunplay is as good as you would expect from a Bungie shooter.
Okay.
So that's fine. Um, but it's bland. Like so you have like you play as these runners, which are cybernetic bodies that like house your consciousness, and that's the lore reason for why you can die and respawn.
Okay.
But each there's four runners at launch. I think they said no, I'm sorry, there's four runners right now. There's going to be six at launch. There's one that's basically a Titan from Destiny. There's one that is uh, her name is Glitch, where like her whole ability kit is like disrupting the other runners' um, weapons and gadgets and whatnot. Um, but like access denial type of play style.
Okay.
There's Void, which is a stealth build, which is like, oh, go invisible for a couple seconds. And then there is so uh, what the fuck was it? So Locus is the Titan type character where it's all about damage and defense and like being big and in your face. Um, Void is the stealth character. Glitch is the like DDoS character essentially, and then the other one was Blackbird. I think her name was. Blackbird is the like the reconnaissance character. You can ping enemies and tag them and use wall hacks and stuff like that. Um, Coming from a Destiny background, for myself in particular, uh, I think all of these kit ideas are extremely uninspired.
Boy.
I know what Bungie is capable of from like like an ability standpoint in a video game, and I don't think that this is I don't think it's that creative. Now, all that set aside, like let's take the extraction shooter genre just on its own. It is such a weird design philosophy choice to make Marathon an extraction shooter when the that genre just by itself is so niche, and
Yeah.
have a company like Bungie, who you would really consider mainstream by any metric today, to
Mhm.
choose an extraction shooter to go into, it's such a weird choice. Like this is not a game for the people who already play Destiny. It's not. Like the people who play Destiny, right?
Mhm.
My vault is almost at capacity. I hang on to my loot with an iron fucking grip. So now you're gonna make an extraction shooter where every time I go in with anything that I've earned, I run the risk of losing it forever. uh, it doesn't make sense to like, and you know what? Maybe they didn't make this game for Destiny players, but you have to assume that that is already a huge portion of their customer base. Like, why wouldn't you be making a game to have that Venn diagram overlap to where
Yeah.
your existing fans could play it, you know?
Marathon and Bungie's position on it is kind of awkward in that sense, where it's like they definitely want new players, but the way the game plays, systems aside, definitely looks like it's leaning more towards we need to branch this off of Destiny than rather than doing its own unique shooter setup. Like from the gameplay I watched, it definitely looked like a shade away from Destiny, but it was still in that same formula, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that it's almost like they're trying to awkwardly walk this middle ground where they want new players to come for a new experience, but their reputation is so weak at this point that they also need to get the Destiny diehards, and I think it's just walking a line in the middle that isn't really super satisfying to either group. And at the same time, to what you just said with like the, go in, you could potentially lose everything, I actually give them credit for trying something like that, because that is not a safe gameplay strategy in the slightest. That's
Well,
one
it's an
way.
extraction shooter. That's just part of the
No,
loop
no,
of
I
that
I
genre.
get I get that, but like but I'm just saying, like, having targeting that at all, say what we will about like the overall results and like what led them to this point. Trying that at all is not a safe thing to try, so I'll give them a
Yeah.
little bit of credit for trying that.
Right. Actually, so the entire time I was watching the marathon um, stream,
Yeah.
the one of the most forefront thoughts in my brain the entire fucking time I was watching it was, God damn, I miss DMZ. Like, I really miss DMZ, and it's such a shame that it's basically dead at this point.
Yeah.
And I really do like the extraction genre because of the way that DMZ handled it back in Modern Warfare 2. Um, uh, and that, like, yeah, Bungie is one of my favorite game developers ever. So if they're taking a crack at an extraction shooter, I'm going to pay attention to it. But after seeing it, it looks so bland and uninspired that, like, I I'm very disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It looks like a bunch of trend chasing, and it really sucks. Uh, so and also, they're launching with 3 maps, and they've been working on this game for like fucking 5 or 6 years or something, which is
Hmm.
crazy. Like you're gonna launch with 3 maps, and you've been working on this game for the better part of a decade. I I don't know, man. Like none of it.
Yeah.
Like this is all red flags, and
Yeah.
I went into this wanting to be excited for it. I wasn't excited going in. I went in like very optimistic, and I wanted to be excited. But the moment I saw like the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh no, like this it does not look like what
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna look like.
Yeah, the whole thing I would say is like it's underwhelming to me, which means it's that they're in a very very bad spot overall.
Yeah,
Like I'm
and
not saying I'm yeah.
the big thing about this game is that Bungie needs Marathon to perform very well,
Yes.
just
Yes.
based off of the position the studio is in, and the fact that they really only have one game out right now that people are playing.
Mhm.
So based off of the reception of the Marathon reveal, one, they cannot stop supporting Destiny. They can't stop supporting that game.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way.
No.
There's no way. Like that's their cash cow to begin with, and people already love Destiny 2 to death. They cannot stop supporting Destiny 2. Um, I think that they are a big enough studio where they can do both, Okay, you can have a audience in both of those genres and still be fine. But based off of the reception of the Marathon reveal, there's no way in hell that you can stop supporting Destiny 2. Like you that studio will sink faster than the fucking Titanic if they slow down or stop. Um, what else did I want to say? There is no story or lore to the game. Apparently, they were asked about it, and their answer was something along the lines of, "It's going to be a great story, but we'll let you know when we write it." Like, yeah, yeah. It's like, uh,
Do I even need to
God, where
say
do
that like an extraction shooter is like not necessarily the best place for a
right,
strong narrative?
right.
Like people
I
give me shit for defending Titanfall 1's campaign, and you're gonna tell me that Marathon is gonna have like they're gonna fit in this amazing
Well, this is what
story.
Bungie said when they were asked
Yeah,
about it.
no, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm
Yeah,
not buying that for a second.
yeah.
Sorry.
So what else is there? I think the value proposition of charging a premium price tag for what you're calling a premium product for a game mode that is like hyper niche, that you really need friends to invest into this game with you to play to really get the most out of it, is super duper risky.
Mhm.
Um, I think the paywall is good. I don't know if it's going to be worth $60, especially for the amount of content that we're going to be getting at launch.
Mhm.
Maybe 40. Like I'd be okay with paying 40 for the level of content that this game is going to have at launch.
Mhm.
But the value proposition for regular people who aren't really like, they like to play a game and they see there's a new shooter coming out from Bungie, who everyone knows made Halo and Destiny, two of the biggest shooters ever created.
Mhm.
And then they buy it, they play it, and they find out it's an extraction shooter, and then, you know, you get your ass kicked and you lose everything that you fucking earned in that session, and you get booted out, you load back in only to find out that you're starting with nothing. It's I don't know who this is for, you know? I Bungie is a very mainstream studio. All the people that know them are either normies or like people that like to play games in. I feel like it's split into two camps, like casual gamers or the hardcore. And Destiny is a very unique product where it caters to both of those audiences, which is impressive if you ask me.
Mhm.
Um, but a game like Marathon, where you're asking people to invest the time that you need, that the time that it requires to get good at this game, and that you would, uh, uh, shit, I lost my thought. Fuck. uh, it it's a risky business proposition,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, what else? I talked about the graphics. I talked about the gameplay. There's supposed to be contracts in it in the same way that like DMZ had contracts, which is cool. That's
Yeah.
fine. Um, uh, the maps themselves didn't really look that big. They weren't like Al Mazrah sized maps from Modern Warfare 2.
Mhm.
They looked to be like maybe a 30% of the size, maybe 50% of the size of Al Mazrah.
Okay.
It's squads of three, and it is, I want to say, 6 teams. So smaller
Okay.
player base overall. Um, and the AI is no pushover, so I hear.
Okay.
Apparently the AI is like really difficult, which is, in my opinion, good. I'm trying to find positives here, but like from what I saw, I got filled with an overwhelming feeling of like, this is what you've been working on, like, I don't know, man. This is not looking that great. So,
Yeah. I mean, you would obviously like. I was more curious to see what you had to say, but I mean, I don't have much different to say. It's for me, it's just another underwhelming product. I had no
yeah,
real expectations outside of our discussions. I'm not a hard.
right.
I've not into Destiny. Bungie, even at its peak, wasn't a company that I had reverence for.
Hmm.
I respected and said like they make a good shooter. I like the original Halo games, but like for me, it's literally just what do you got? And as a new potential customer and player, you ain't got nothing I want.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not going to be for everybody. And I
Yeah.
think that the fact that it's attached to the Bungie name is going to be very misleading. And there is going to be a handful of people who remember the game Marathon in 1994 that, might not know that it's an extraction shooter, see it and like, oh, cool, they're remaking the game, and they buy it and like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's not going to play out the way that they think it's going to play out. And all the
Yeah.
comments that I've been seeing on YouTube and social media are essentially echoing the same thing that I'm saying here, is
Mm.
that like this is just it doesn't necessarily look like slop. Actually, it does look like slop. It looks like, if you were to see a video game in a movie off to the side, like out of focus,
Uh,
this is what it would look like,
okay.
which is not a compliment.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah. I mean, the only thing I will say is just like I don't. The only comment I should say is that like I think you're overplaying how much like goodwill the Bungie name has at this point. It's been a
maybe,
long fucking time since their heyday, and
yeah,
it's just been,
maybe,
it's like the one thing about Destiny 2, whether you love it, whether you hate it, the fact that it is one thing they've essentially worked on from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. Just the
hmm
one thing is like when people go to look at any point in the last decade and say what is Bungie up to, that's what they're seeing, and like they already have their minds make up. It's not a company that had their hands in multiple different pies
yeah,
anymore. So it's just I think that their deteriorating reputation is gonna catch up to them in a big way in Marathon, as far as like if they're hoping that, like you mentioned, you hated seeing at the beginning from the creators of Halo. I don't think that's going to sway nearly as much people as they're hoping for, like from that offhand statement. So I don't think they have like the clout to pull. And if that's the case, it's really just about the product itself, and it is not. It's not there. I don't see it.
yeah. And this game is coming out on September 23rd. It's right around the corner.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what they can do in 6 months to make it what it needs to be, but
not much.
yeah, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say one more thing, but I, man, I don't know. Oh yeah, I went into this like really wanting to have liked what I would see.
Yeah.
And the more I watched it, the more I was like, oh man, this is not looking great.
Hmm.
So I'm disappointed. I am, because I wanted to play a new shooter from Bungie, and then
Hmm.
this is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So I will see what happens in September. I am not paying $60 for this, even though it's probably going to cost $60. I'm I'm very curious to see how it's going to play out.
Hmm.
But it might be a net positive for me as a Destiny fan, because I think that if I've learned anything from the gameplay reveal, is that there's no way in hell they could stop supporting Destiny, or even make Marathon like the number one priority of Bungie, because without Destiny, that studio is gonna fucking implode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got on that. I think I'm just talking in circles now.
No, yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of these topics. There's only so much to say once you've covered all the ground. I mean, it just, I don't know. I haven't heard a single positive thing. I noticed that they have the shills out in full force. You mentioned that they're really going hard on the marketing,
Yeah,
and it's just I don't think it's convincing anymore. I think their marketing team is gonna fall flat. I think they're gonna get a lot of people to say a lot of good things about it. I just don't think I don't think the belief in these people is there anymore. That's just something about that that I don't. But I don't think people are in the habit of taking the words of just anyone streaming or any influencers anymore. So
yeah,
I also think
yeah,
that their marketing's a little skew, where it's just like someone made a great point where it's just like a lot of these companies confuse people enjoying watching someone playing a game with them actually enjoying the game they're playing. So all
yep,
this like streamer stuff, streaming the game, is like people are enthused to see the people they have a parasocial relationship with playing the game. They're not necessarily excited for the game. And while
yeah,
there is the potential there to stir up good feelings, ultimately like that has a breaking point, and I think we've kind of met it in the current culture where it's not enough anymore, where people are going to go in and say like, oh, streamer man is enjoying Marathon, therefore I will enjoy Marathon. I just don't think that's the case, and I think
yeah.
they're
I'm gonna
banking
try to
hard
get
on
my hands.
influencers.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna try to get my hands on a closed alpha
Oh,
key,
yeah, go for it.
and try to play and see what it's all about. But I just from the outside looking in, it's not looking promising. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I have to say on Marathon. I can't keep on talking about it because I'm just going around in
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have
Um,
more to say as those alpha and beta periods come out, but I don't think there's going to be a turnaround. I think this is
yeah,
just not going to be what Bungie needs and what Sony wants, and I don't know what that
yeah,
leads to afterwards.
yeah.
People are
I
comparing
agree.
it to Concord. I wouldn't
Yes,
go
I
that
have seen a
far.
lot of those comparisons. I
I
wouldn't go
wouldn't
that
go
far
that
either.
I wouldn't go
Yeah,
that far just because even though I think the clout and the weight of Bungie is like very much diminished, I don't think this game. I think this game has the potential to fail or flop. I don't think it's going to be like a Concord level failure. That's a special thing. I know people like to get excited whenever something massive fails, and they want that next Titanic to just roll on by and sink. It's just I don't. You'll see flops. You're not going to see something like a Concord for quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really about it. So
Yeah.
I think that about does it for the episode. If you've stuck around for this long, thank you for listening. This was
Yeah.
episode 51 of the Pregame Network podcast, and for
Yes.
once we closed out on a Dan rant. So
Yeah.
wow,
Get it
look at
out of your
that! First
system.
time for everything. That felt good. All right, well, same time and same place next week, and
Yeah.
thank you for listening. We'll see everyone later. Bye.
Bye-bye.